All right, so I've seen a few more people join in, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Connie Konan, and I am the Program Manager for the Full Stack Web Development Program here at York University School of Continuing Studies. Everybody who's on the line right now, your microphones are muted and will remain muted throughout this session, just so we reduce any ambient noise in the background. If you have questions, I encourage you to type them into the questions section that you should see on the right-hand side of your screen as part of the GoToWebinar panel. You can type in your questions there. We will have a time for question and answer at the end where I'll address all of the questions that have been asked, but feel free to type them in as we go because I'll just go back through all of the questions at the end. And then for anybody who is wondering, this session will be recorded and mailed out to you following the presentation, so you'll have a copy of the presentation so you can refer back to it later. All right, so let's take a look at our agenda today. So just some welcome and introductions. It's going to be a little bit shorter than usual because unfortunately, the person who usually presents with me is not able to make it to the session today. So it's just going to be me, and I've already introduced myself, so that's going to be pretty short. Then we're going to talk about why full stack web development, talk about what makes York different, a little bit more about the program, answer some important program information, frequently asked questions that we have, and then we'll go to the end to ask and answer any questions that you might have. All right, so up on the screen, we've got an overview of the program staff for the Full Stack Web Development Program. We've got a really great team here to support your learning and your student experience as you go through the program. That's me on the far left, Connie Konan. I'm the program manager, and I'm here to kind of design the program with the help of industry and really oversee the high-level input. We've got Preeti Raman, who's not able to join us today. She's our academic coordinator. She is a subject matter expert in full stack web development as well as adult education, specifically in the fields of mathematics and science. So she's been a really, really great help in helping us design this program to meet the needs of industry, but also be extremely rigorous in terms of content and academic requirements. Then we have Carmela McPherson. She'll join me for the question and answer part of the presentation, and she is our continuing studies advisor. And she is the person that you're going to want to contact if you have any follow-up questions after this meeting. She's the one that has all the details. She can help you get registered, provide you with more information. She's going to be your #1 resource for information about the program. And then we have Allison, who is our registration coordinator, and she's going to be the person that if you need help registering or if you have specific questions about financing or that sort of thing, you want to go to Allison. All right then. So why full stack web development? Lots of people aren't quite sure what they want to do when they look at web development. And so what we want to talk about here is why specifically should you be interested in full stack web development? Well, first of all, it is the fastest growing job market in the GTA for web development positions, and it's increased over 2,500% in the past 4 years. So the number of jobs that have been posted on Indeed, LinkedIn, a whole bunch of these job boards has increased by 2,500% over the past 4 years. And that's because more and more companies are starting to realize that they need web developers who can handle both the front and the back end and tie it all together to help them with their projects. Sorry about that. I've got a little cold and I don't want you all to hear me coughing. So full stack web development tends to be almost an entry-level role into web development because you'll have an understanding of the entire website and how it works together. And once you've been able to work in that industry, working with all the parts of the website, you'll be able to specialize in either the front end or the back end a lot more specifically. And then there are also some people who might be working in the front end or back end who want to have that full stack web development overview, because more and more, as smaller companies are building websites and realizing that they need to be online, it is an expectation that any web developer at least has an understanding of full stack web development in order to do their jobs properly. In the GTA, the salary range for a full stack web developer is between $65,000 to $121,000, really depending on your experience and the kind of company you're working for. So larger companies tend to be able to pay a little bit more money than smaller startups, that sort of thing. What is full stack web development is the next question. So full stack web development is made up of three main components. The first is the presentation layer, or the front end of the website. So anytime you go onto a website and the part that you interact with, that is the presentation layer. It deals with a lot of the user experience and user design related issues of the website. And then you also have the business logic layer, which is the business logic layer is also known as the back-end layer of the website, and it's responsible for data validation and processing and making sure that all content is dynamic, which means that if something changes in your company, it can automatically update your website. So you don't have to go in and make code changes every time, and really make sure it's dynamic and responsive. And then you've got the database layer. That is the data access layer, and it utilizes the data for the website using what we call an API. And all of those pieces together make up what is full stack web development. And you can kind of see the different technologies, softwares, and tools that are used to really build out the full stack solution. So what makes York different? Why should you come here instead of another organization that might be offering the same type of thing? And really, it's because we differentiate our programs in a completely different way and in a really new and innovative way from what a lot of traditional continuing studies departments do, but also different from what you might find in a lot of the different boot camps that are available out there. So there's two things that make us really different. The first is how we've actually designed our program, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the thing that's really, really unique about our program is that it is designed using design thinking principles and user experience design thinking principles, where we really, really work with industry to determine the kinds of skills that a graduate needs in order to be successful in a career in this field. So every single one of our programs, this one being no exception, we rely very heavily on the expertise of what we call our advisory council. Now, our advisory council works in industry and actually hires individuals into these kinds of roles. So they, more than anybody else, really understand what it is they're looking for in a full stack web developer. What are those technical skills? What are the most up-to-date technologies? What are also those cross-functional skills that people need to know in order to be a good full stack web developer? And they have helped us design the program outcomes as well as the program courses to make sure that by the end of the program, successful graduates have that really solid skill set that they need in order to succeed in this field. Part of what we've been hearing from our advisory council and from industry across the board is that the industry is really needing what is called a T-shaped professional. So T-shaped professional is essentially a very well-rounded individual who not only has a depth of expertise in the technology needed and the processes needed for the job, but they've got that breadth of knowledge that allows them to work with other industries, other team members, and really be part of a team as opposed to a standalone individual who can't collaborate. So creating that T-shaped professional with both those cross-functional skills and that depth of expertise is one of the core fundamental aspects of our program that we've designed. So as we're developing the program, which you will take as a full program as opposed to one-off courses, you'll be able to see your improvement in areas such as teamwork, presentation, writing, collaboration, different soft skills and collaborative skills that you might not find in other places that offer this type of training, because they concentrate only on the software and only on the hard skills. When industry is telling us in order to succeed in this field, you need to have those cross-functional skills that allow you to communicate with other departments, gather user needs, explain to people why you've set up the website the way you have, and really work as a team no matter what that team looks like. So our goal in all of our programs, and specifically this one, is to produce graduates who can write, speak, negotiate, understand numbers, problem solve, and make ethical decisions in the field of full stack web development. So let's talk a little bit about who should take this program. Because that's a question we get a lot. So is this program right for me? Who should take this kind of program? How much background do I need to have in IT? So we recommend that there are no specific admission requirements for this program because it has been designed at a basic level where we'll teach you what you need from the very beginning. However, if you do not have any background in IT or graphic design, marketing, any kind of adjacent field, we do want to just put it out there that you might have to put in a little bit more effort than your counterparts to catch up to the basic knowledge they have in those areas. So typically, the people that we have in our program are specialists in adjacent fields, such as graphic design, marketing, social media, or even IT support. And they're looking to shift their career to be more focused in web development. They want to be hands-on keyboards. A lot of people come from tech companies. A lot of tech companies encourage their employees from other departments who are interested in working in web development to train and transition into those kinds of roles. So if you're working in a tech company and you see your counterparts working in building websites and you're in sales and you're like, I know enough about the technology to talk about it, but I want to know how to do it, this is the right program for you. If you're really interested in getting hands-on keyboards and dedicated to putting in the time and the effort and the practice, this will be a really great program that you can use to transition into a new career. We've also designed this program to be specifically designed to help the working professional take this course without having to take time off of work. A lot of the boot camps that you'll see out there require people to take almost 3 months off of work, which means that you're not getting paid for 3 months. And sometimes people can't afford to do that or don't want to do that. So we've designed our program very specifically so that you only have to come into class on weekends every other week. So you shouldn't have to take time off of work if you have a typical 9-to-5 job during the week. So we've designed it so that hopefully you can have a really great balance of work and family and school life. So what is it you're going to learn in our program? By the end of the program, students who successfully complete the program will be able to understand and describe product development, product lifecycle management, and client communication as it relates to web development. You'll be able to discern and effectively communicate the overall architecture of any given website, which, as you learn more about web development, is a really crucial skill to have, because if you can't describe how something works, you won't be able to find where an error might be, and you won't be able to fit everything together. You'll be able to select the appropriate software and frameworks required to build or maintain a specific product. And this is really important because a lot of the other full stack web development or web development boot camps out there might teach you a very narrowly defined group of software that by the end of it, you'll be really good in those specific softwares, but then you might get a job at a company that uses a different software that you've never even seen before and you've never used. So part of what we're teaching in the program, in addition to giving you those skills in learning the software, is the knowledge and the understanding and the problem solving to be able to figure out which software and framework is appropriate for the product that you are trying to build. Fourth, you'll be able to create an end-to-end website that meets the specified business requirements given to you, either by a client or internally by a stakeholder. So each of the different courses that we have focuses on a specific aspect of full stack web development. And then at the very end in the capstone project, you'll be able to bring all of that together and create a website from very beginning to very end, the entire thing. And then finally, you'll be able to utilize creative problem solving in order to effectively troubleshoot issues and debug broken code. So talking to all of our advisory councils and instructors, this is a key piece that's missing in other training areas, is a lot of times when you come as a full stack web developer, companies already have websites. So sometimes you won't be developing from scratch, but you might need to fix a problem, and you might need to go in and make adjustments and improve the adjustments and change one piece without affecting another. And so it's really important that you're able to troubleshoot if you run into errors and problem solve on your own and with a team and that sort of thing. So our program is designed to build those kind of skills right into the course and the coursework itself. Great. Now, moving on to the actual courses themselves. So as I mentioned before, there are 6 courses in this program, and each one covers a very specific part of full stack web development. So in Foundations of Full Stack Web Development, students will be introduced to the technology that makes the web run, the tools and terminologies involved, and they will also learn the fundamentals of each technology. The importance of design, type, security, and privacy, as well as usability and accessibility, will be examined throughout the components of visual and text communication. So it's essentially giving you a broad introduction to what is web development, what makes up the different components, what are the key kinds of software that you're going to have to use in order to be a web developer. The second course, Web UI Concepts and Frameworks, that's where you're going to learn how to build effective, interactive, and responsive websites using languages like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And in this course, it's essentially the front end piece. That's where you're learning how to build the part that the user interacts with. In the Server-Side Programming and Tools course, students will learn how to integrate business logic into web applications by building and coding a powerful backend using the appropriate technologies. You're going to be using a lot of computational and critical thinking in this course to make sure that you've set things up in a very logical way, that if you have to hand it over to somebody else, they will be able to understand how you've built it so that they can make adjustments later if needed. The server side, the server-side programming and tools course, that's what I just talked about. Sorry, that's the server-side programming and tools. Then the database design and principles course is where you're going to cover databases and how you use database management in systems for web applications. It includes extensive coverage of the relational model, relational algebra, as well as SQL and NoSQL databases. So really, how do you create the databases that interact both with the business side, but also with the website? Then the fifth course is DevOps and Deployment. This course is actually going to teach you how to, after you've designed everything, make it live, make it possible for people to interact with your website. It will introduce you to various deployment tools and platforms and provide you a working knowledge of the different cloud computing software for the web. So that includes Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Services, and you'll also get an idea of the different version controls and virtualizations that are used in this space as well. And then finally, the capstone, it's the icing on the cake. So the grand finale that helps you take everything that you learn throughout the entire program and create your own website. We will be working to bring in real industry partners who have projects that they want you to work on to not only help their business, but also test you as potential employees to see if you can do the job. And it's essentially a prolonged interview process where they'll give you this assignment, and if you do well, it's very possible that you can get an interview and even a job out of it. So we'll be working with real companies who have real problems and will be more realistic than somebody, creating a project that might not need a business need, or creating a project for a company that's not too picky. We're actually going to get you to work with companies that will give you an idea of what it will be like to work on web development in real life. All right, so let's talk about some actual program details and some important information about the program itself. So as I mentioned, there's a total of 6 courses. Each course is 7 weeks long with a total of 5 days in class. So every other week, you come in for face-to-face delivery. So it's all face-to-face. There will be an online component where you can interact with your group members and your instructor outside of class. But during that time, you're really just working on your projects and working on homework. There's no additional activities that need to be taking place. Each course starts with a full weekend block, so one Saturday and Sunday, to really introduce you to the topic and get your hands on, really get a solid foundation. Then you go away for another week to kind of apply what you've learned into a kind of project or assignment, and then every other week you come back into class to wrap up what you've learned previously and introduce yourself to a new topic, get back in there, hands-on keyboards, really interacting with your colleagues and your instructor. The program takes between 11 to 12 months to complete, and that really just depends on scheduling, because what we do commit to is when we do schedule on weekends. We make sure that you never have to come into class on a long weekend. We value our long weekends, and we assume you do also. So it might take 12 months if there's a long weekend that causes something to be delayed, but typically between 11 and 12 months. The program costs $9,600, and we do have a payment plan that lets you pay that in 3 distinct chunks, so you don't have to pay that up front. If you have more questions about that, I encourage you to reach out to Carmela, as she'll be able to provide you with more specific information. We have 2 offerings every year, one that starts in the winter or January, and that the every other weekend typically falls on a Sunday, and then the offering that we have in the fall, in September, has every other weekend coming in on a Saturday. So really depending on your availability and your preference, those are the dates that you're going to choose. All right, so how to register? Next important question. There's 2 ways that you can really register. The first is online. By using this link, you can go to continue.york.ca and find the full stack web development certificate, click on enroll, you're good to go. You can choose which section you want to enroll in, and you can make all of your payment online. Or if you prefer, you can actually come in person to register, and we'll help you. Our address is listed right there at 123 Atkinson Building, 96 Upon Road, North York. We are on the southeast side of campus, or rather, more south middle of campus, and our office hours are 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. All right, so before we just jump into the question period, we're going to address some of the most frequently asked questions just to make sure that we've covered the basics before we move on. So, what are the admission requirements? There are none. We do not require you to have any specific educational background, any specific technical expertise, anything like that. We do just want to make sure that you really think about whether this is something that's right for you. Some of the information that we've been getting from our instructors and our advisory council and industry in general is that people who work in web development, the people who are really, really good at it, practice all the time. So if you're interested in web development, but you want something that's really easy and it's just 9 to 5 and you never think about the job outside of those hours, this might not be the right profession for you. People who are in web development tend to be part of forums. They play online challenge, code challenge games outside of their work hours. They really work on building their expertise outside of a typical work day. So it is the kind of industry and the kind of job that the better you want to be, the more effort you put in. What are the computer requirements for my computer in this course? Great question. So in terms of the computers, this is a bring your own device program. You are required to bring your own device to school. And we definitely recommend you bring a power bar because most people's computers don't last all day. We are working on making it possible for you to access all of the technology you need to through cloud computing, but just make sure that your computer is, up and running, runs smoothly, has enough available space to download any kind of software that you need. If you need more specific information about the computer requirements, please go to our website because we do provide more specific information there. What is the time commitment outside of class hours? As I mentioned earlier, while you're in class, you're learning, you're interacting, you're working on things. Outside of class time, we've tried to design it so that the homework that you need to do in terms of working on your projects or any kind of readings or assignments, that sort of thing, will be approximately 5 to 7 hours per week. Again, the more you put into the program, the more you will get out of the program. Web development is the type of thing that practice makes perfect. It takes 10,000 hours of practice in a specific subject in order to become an expert. So while you're not going to become an expert in web development by the end of this, the more hours you put in practice and time, the better your skills will be by the time you finish the program. And then finally, what textbooks will I need? Great question. And the answer is none. We provide you with all of the readings that you need. A lot of times in web development, there isn't necessarily a textbook that is something that people build their curriculum around. It's always changing. It's always being updated. So our curriculum is very agile and works to integrate the newest blogs, the newest articles, the newest tutorials, that sort of thing. So there isn't a specific textbook that you need to spend money on. All right, on to questions. I said there's a few questions in here already, so if you give me just a few minutes to read through them, I will be happy to answer them for you. All right, so I've got one question just about somebody who doesn't really know anything about programming, but they work in an IT role. Again, talking about that admission requirement. So you do not need to have experience with coding to be successful in this program. However, if you have no experience with computers and you're not sure, how to open a file or how to use Excel or that sort of thing, it might not be the type of program for you. That being said, if it's something that you're really interested in and you want to apply yourself to learn, it's definitely possible. We have people in this program who come from a whole bunch of different backgrounds who don't understand coding and don't know anything about coding, but you need to at least be comfortable with the idea that if you don't know anything about coding, you're going to have to apply yourself in order to learn it. Another person says, will I be able to code efficiently after this course? That really depends on what you mean by efficiently. We will teach you the basics of coding that you need to know in terms of the syntax, the difference between the different kinds of codes, and basic coding structures. But one of the things we'll definitely be able to teach you is how to find code that already exists to do the thing that you want to do. So one of the really great things about web development is it is very much an open source community. If there's something you're like, I would really like my website to be able to have a drop-down menu. You can go and find code that already exists that you can just copy and place into your code to have a drop-down menu. So while we won't be teaching you how to code from scratch every little thing, we will teach you how to find the code that will allow you to do what you need to and adjust it to meet your purposes. Any other questions? Anybody else? Somebody's asked if they need to be a graphic designer to enroll. Absolutely not. Graphic design is a completely separate skill set, and while having kind of a design thinking attitude will be a really great asset in this program, it is by no means a requirement. Graphic design is much more on the visualization side of things. This is much more on the logical building, engineering, that sort of thing. So while there might be some graphic designers in our program, it's definitely not the main type of role that people have coming into it. Anybody else? And I do want to specify, just because of that question, I just want to make it clear that this program is not about what people typically call UX UI design, which is more concentrating on the front end, making websites beautiful, making them interact with people really well, making infographics. That is not what this program is. This program is about building a website. It is not about making it pretty. It's about building it, making it function, making it all fit together. And if you have those design skills, even better, because then you can add that to your skill set. But that is not the core functionality of this program. Anybody else? Somebody's asked about the industry connections. So as I mentioned about the capstone course, we do work with industry to provide those projects with you. So that's the very first connection that you'll have. And when you work with a company on that, you can start networking with the company and talking to them about that. And then also your instructors are really, really great resources for you because they all work in industry. So while we have no formal mentorship or career service platform, we do bring in industry quite often, and we integrate industry throughout the program. So it is up to the students to kind of take that initiative, and when we bring industry in, really take advantage of that to help build their network and help build their careers. Anybody else? So some people are asking specific information about will they learn how to write code in Java, HTML5. For those two, yes, we know that those are going to be what you're going to be learning. But again, as I mentioned before, while we'll be teaching you some of those basics, what we'll also be teaching you is how to understand the difference between the different kinds of codes and how to choose which one it might be more appropriate. Because you might actually end up working for a company where, while you know how to write HTML5, the entire website is actually built with a previous version of HTML. So you're going to have to be able to learn how to go in and figure out the differences between those, because changing an entire website from HTML3 to HTML5 might be a bigger challenge than you're paid to do. So yes, we will teach you the most up-to-date technology, but we will also teach you how to really understand the differences between the different codes, the different technologies and the softwares, and how to get more information to learn how to effectively code in those as well. Any other questions? All right, well, I'll stay on the line for a few more minutes in case anybody else has a question. But that formally concludes the PowerPoint presentation for today and the information session that we've got. Thank you all so much for joining us. I really look forward to seeing you all in our program, hopefully. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact Carmela McPherson at continue@yorku.ca or give us a call at 416-736-5616.